Good day, beautiful people. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Freddy and I am going to be your host in today's episode. Today we will be exploring how language differs between people in cities and those in the countryside, and specifically in California. Stay tuned! California is an incredible place with different parts like cities and the countryside, of course. Each of these places has its unique way of talking. And in this podcast, we'll delve into how language varies from people in cities compared to those in the countryside. We will discuss using fancy words, how people adapt their language, the cool words they use, and how culture influences the way they speak. California has many diverse areas with different people and ways of talking. In this podcast, we will look at how people in cities and the countryside talk differently and how it's connected to where they live and their lifestyle. And the first point that we have in the agenda is register. In big cities like Los Angeles, people tend to speak more formally, especially at work or in meetings. However, in small countryside towns, things are more relaxed, and people use the informal language when they are together. Here we have an example for city register. People used to say or tend to say, "Good afternoon, everyone. I like to present our quarterly report, highlighting the key achievements and challenges we've encountered." And we have here an example for countryside register. "Hey everyone, let's sit around and chat about how the harvest's going. Anyone got stories to share?" The second point that we have in the agenda is speech accommodations. People in cities are skilled at changing how they talk based on who they are with. In the countryside, people also adjust their language, but it's not as noticeable. They switch between different ways of talking based on where they are and who they are talking to. An example of this is city code switching. Someone might switch between English and Spanish when talking to friends in a multicultural neighborhood. On the contrary, in the countryside code switching, in a small town, someone might switch between the local way of talking and standard English, depending on if they are talking to neighbors or in a formal community event. The next aspect or the next factor that we must take into account are the slangs. People in cities use a mix of different slangs because there are many cultures coming together. In the countryside, Slangs are more connected to local traditions and shared experiences in the community. Here we have some examples. The first one, city slang. The party was awesome. Everyone was enjoying the music and we had a great time. An example of countryside slang is we had a real fine time last night with people dancing to the fiddle tunes and having some good old country fun. The next aspect that we must take into consideration is the cultural background, where people come from plays a big part in how they talk. In cities where there are many cultures, people use words from different places. In the countryside, the way people talk is more connected to the traditions of the local community. An example of this is city cultural background. Let's listen carefully. Our neighborhood celebrates Diwali, so we're planning a potluck with a mix of Indian and American dishes. Countryside cultural background. Every year, we gather for the county fair. It's a tradition passed down from our grandparents, and we always have a pie baking contest. Okay, and we're almost at the end, and this is the conclusion. Looking at how language varies between people in cities and the countryside in California reveals a lot about their lifestyles and cultural influences. The examples we've discussed provide a glimpse into how language connects to where people live and the unique communities they are part of. Understanding these differences helps us appreciate the diverse ways people communicate and the rich linguistic identity of California. Okay, I hope that you have enjoyed our podcast. Remember to be in touch with us. See you next time.